This video is on tips and techniques that I use to finish my crew neck raglan baby jacket. Each piece is knitted separately and then sewn together. I have a way that I do this ridge to give it a nice pop. This is a miniature version just so I can do it a little quicker. I would always start by doing the back, then I do the two sleeves, then I do the two fronts. See, this one is the crew neck. You can either put it on a stitch holder. I like to use my Denise needles because inside you got assorted sizes. And then you could always take the pin off and place your needle on and actually knit off of the needle. The other way to do it would be the standard stitch holders. Any way you do it is perfectly fine. You can use little metal ones. Or another cute one is this one from Clover, to where you pull off this end and then you can actually knit right off of the needle, either from this side or from this side. It's reversible, whichever way you want to do it. So it's entirely up to you which you're more comfortable with. So first I like to show how you do this decrease to get this cute little ridge. I'm making a miniature sleeve right here. I've done my increases, as you can see, on either side to make the sleeve. The first thing you do is your underarm bind-offs. So I'll do some quick bind-offs here. For those who are not sure how to do it, you would knit two, then wrap the yarn over and off. That's one. Knit one. Take the first stitch over the second stitch, drop it off. That's two. Do it again. That's three. I'll go ahead and do four. And then you have to knit all the way to the other end. You cannot do a bind off on this side. You have to actually do your bind off on the purl side of your sleeve, or your jacket front, or your jacket back. I'll do it rather quickly. Just basic knit all the way across. Okay, now we're going to do the bind off on the other side, which you do from the purl edge, and you actually do purl stitches, so you purl two. Now I find it's hard to pull this stitch over the other stitch with this yarn in the way, so I just set it over here, and that gives me a little tension. Then I can take the first stitch over, I bring it back, purl another stitch, so this would be bind off number two, bring it back, bind off number three, or however many the pattern calls for. I think I'm just doing four just because that's actually what the pattern will call for, even though this is a little mini piece. Then you would purl the rest of the way back, and that will give you your two bind offs for the underarm. Now we're going to start the decrease going up the armhole for the back, the sleeves, or the neck. I'm going to try to get this video done in 20 minutes or less. The way I like to do it is knit one, and then either SSK, or I like to do slip one, knit one, pass slip stitch over, and that gives you a left leaning decrease. Then you knit to the last three stitches, knit two together, which will give you the right leaning decrease, then knit the last one. Also, this gives you a nice edge in which to sew on, because it gives you a guide to follow. You purl back, I'll do it again for you. You knit one, slip one, knit one, pass slip stitch over, or you can do an SSK, whichever you prefer. Knit to the last three, knit two together, knit one. This is the way I like to do mine. It's entirely up to you how you like to do yours. If you want to do your SSK first with the first two stitches and knit two together with the last two stitches, you're more than welcome to. It's whatever you're comfortable with, but as you can tell, this one's getting the leaning decrease towards the center, and this one's getting the other leaning decrease towards the other center. Now when you get ready to sew it together, kind of a oversized version here. This would be my sleeve, and this is my front because there's my crew. You pick up your needle. Now what I do is after I complete the project to get ready to put it on the stitch holder, I cut the yarn about 2-3 inches longer than the actual piece. That gives me enough thread to do the entire sewing. This part is sewn together with both sides lining up this way, while this part is sewn together where both ends are touching. And I'll show how each of those two pieces go together. It gives you a nice, smooth, finished look. Now the very end is a little bit difficult because you wind up having some knit two togethers here without the knit one in front, because you only have 2 stitches left at the end. You have to knit 2 together. So you just kind of have to feel your way through, kind of fudge it a little bit. It's up on the top of the sleeve, so if it doesn't show too much, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. You just have to kind of pick your way through that top 2 or 3. But as you can see, there's my ridge right here, and I want to sew before the ridge. And I pick up every horizontal bar as I go across. Now, I'm getting pretty close to where I can actually pick up the bars now. There. I don't worry about how tight I pull it at this point, because after I get to the bottom of this section, I pull it tight. And I have a little trick I like to do with that, because if you pull them tight and you don't ease them back out a little bit, all the openings will be different lengths. So some of your armholes may be really loose while other armholes will be really tight. So you get all the way down, then you pull. And what I do is I like to scrunch it up a bit so it's slightly scrunched. Then I'll take and go like this. And that stretches it all back out, but also it keeps it from pulling apart. You have a nice tight little seam there. Now for some reason I'm not matching up exactly, but even if you're off by 1, you can always go through 2 stitches instead of 1 stitch. Just don't do 2 right next to each other, because it will show as a pucker. But if you knit 2 together, or sew 2 together here, and then go down a ways and sew 2 together again to get all your rows of stitches even, it won't show. You won't really see the pucker. Now once you get that part done, now we're going to do this section. To do this section, we actually sew through the V's, not this way down the roll of stitches. I don't like this needle. You pick up your 2 sides of your V, pick them up on the other side. Now when you pull this, you don't want to pull it super tight, because you want it to look like it's an actual knitted stitch, because they will start forming a neat looking little stitch that actually makes it look like you've never sewn it, that you just did a continuation of your knit. I'm running out of thread, so I'm not going to be able to get this completely finished. I'm going to be able to get it pretty close though. I'm just grabbing the 2, and leaving a little bit so it looks like they're actually connected together. It's really, really neat stitch. Then since it's a kid's outfit, I like to kind of do a whip stitch at the very end and then finish it off, and that helps keep it from coming apart. And as you see, this part can lay fairly flat because you left a little easement, but you can't really tell that you've seamed it together, and you can't really tell that this was seamed together. So it's a really nice effect when you're done. Now after you get your sleeve pieces sewn to each other, then you want to actually sew your sleeves and your sides. What I do, here's another trick I do. Before I start my sleeve, after I do the band, I give myself a nice long tail, wrap it around a bread package hole tie. This way you can sew this up this way, and if you have enough you can sew down. If not, you can add. But this eliminates 1 thread for weaving. You definitely have the 2 white, because the one for the beginning of the white band, the one for the end of the white band, and then the one for the beginning of the sleeve. But if you make it long, you can actually use it to sew. So that's another nice little trick. So to sew those together, I have a little special thing I do here to make this look like it belongs together. Another one of my little tricks. I go through the top first, and then I go through the top of the other one. Okay, I go through the first. This one's not cooperating too well. And then you find the little horizontal bar here. And you do the same thing here. The horizontal bar again. And you do this all the way across. What I'll have to do. Then when you get to the top of the band itself, you pull it tight, and when you pull it tight, they look like they're actually connected together. So now if I pull this tight and kind of separate it a bit, to look at it, it actually looks like a knit, purl, and it really makes it look like a finished product. You don't have that funny looking connector seam that I've done so many times in the past. Then after you finish that part, you want to go up the remainder of your sweater, and you do the same thing. You find the horizontal bar between the stitches. Now I like to do every single roll, every single horizontal bar up. It takes a little bit more time, but when you actually pull it tight, it just hooks together so smoothly, and you can't even tell that it was two separate pieces. It really makes a nice seam. I leave it a little loose as I go up. I want to have the ability to see that horizontal bar, and if you pull it tight, you can't always see the horizontal bar because you don't want to jog over. You always want to stay in the same row of stitches as you go up. The only time you would change that is if you're doing a sleeve, because of the increases you do as you go up the sleeve. There would be some little adjustments you have to make. Let's see, I'm just about there. Oh, it's right here. Pulled a little tight there and it was a little hard to see. But as you can see, I keep picking up the horizontal bar all the time. Every single one. And when you get done, you pull it tight. Look at that. It just looks like it was always together. And then by giving a little bit of tug, you make sure there's that little bit of give, but still it stays tight, and all your seams will be the same size. Now once you get that done, and you've got these all sewn together, now you're ready to do your fronts. Now you can, if you use your Denise, you can take this off. Let's see, it actually go on the other side. You turn this way. You would take that off, put your needle on. So after you pick these stitches up with a regular needle, and you would slide this over and you would knit these off of that needle, and then you'd pick up the other ones. So that'd be your top collar. So we're going to do a quickie on that right now. Oh, I forgot. When you get to this part, it's going to say, for example, pick up 56 stitches along the top of the neck. Well, you have to do a little bit of math. You count all these stitches first. Say you got 26 stitches here. You subtract 26 from 50, that gives you 30. You divide that in half, so you'll pick up 15 stitches on this side, then the 26, and the 15 stitches on this side, and that will give you the whole 56. But don't forget, you have to add these or subtract these out of the total amount and then divide the difference by 2 for your crew necks. So you would, if you look at the top, you see it looks like little V's across the top. Those are the ones you want to pick up. I don't like to pick up just one because it can stretch. If you stretch it, then you got this big gaudy looking stitch. So I always try to get both, the front one and the back one. Sometimes picking up stitches is not very cooperative, but I'll do my best. So you pick up however many you bound off. So if your beginning was the bind off of 4, you're going to pick up 4. Then you'll see you got like a little hole there. That's the transition between the pickups and the regular knitting. I skip that hole and I go straight over to the next one. That helps kind of pull it tight. and you don't see that hole. Then you pick up almost every single stitch going up the side, and it will work out to almost exactly what you're looking for. See how you can see where those little holes are as you pull? Those are where you want to pick up. And after you get all the way across to this point, then you pick up the stitches that are on the needle and go across, and then pick up your other ones here. And this part is your standard knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, which you can see right here, knit, purl, knit, purl. This is a standard stockinette stitch. Once you get your inch worth of stockinette stitch done, you want to bind off. So let me show you a quick bind off. You knit the first one. Your second one's a purl, so you purl the second one. Same as before, I like to keep my yarn in the back when I do my pass over. So I pass that one over. Now since it's in the back, I knit this one. I got to bring it to the front because the next one's a purl. You can tell because it's got the little bump on it. Okay. And now you're going to knit the next one. And you do this all the way across. I'm going to have to go across because I'm going to need the bottom of this piece to show the button band. It's done a little bit different. It's what I call a mock rib. It doesn't require a lot of stretching when you block it because it's pretty well set in place, but it looks like a rib when you look at it. Looks like I'm just going to make it. Oh boy, talk about close. Okay, so get the last one, and of course you got to pull the yarn through and pull it tight. There. So that would be your rib neck area, which on your jacket is this. You see, with a regular rib, it really brings it in nice, so you have this really smooth, flat curve. And when we do this part, we're going to do something called a mock rib. It's not an actual rib stitch, because you can tell with a rib stitch how much it really stretches, which makes it very difficult to keep blocked in this position. So I like to do this one instead, so you really don't have to do that much stretching. To do that one, you do the same as before. Yeah, let me get my thread here. You start at the bottom, what I like to on this side, and then when you go to the left side, you have to start at the top. If I have 6 rows of rib here, I pick up 4 stitches. If I have 8 rows, I pick up 6 stitches. Seems to work out pretty good when I do this part. So since I have, looks like 6 here, I need 4. And I put 2 close together, so I'll take that one out. Do here, and do here. Okay, now it's time to go up the side. What works good for me is I pick up 3 right next to each other. Then I skip 1. Pick up 3, then I skip 1, then the next time I pick up 4, and then I repeat it again. You skip 1, pick up 3, skip 1, pick up 3, skip 1, pick up 4. So there's my 3. So now I skip 1 and I pick up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then of course you make sure you have enough stitches to pick up along this edge too. You'll do the count. The pattern actually gives you the full count of how many stitches you need. Okay, so now on this one, the back you purl, because we're starting the mock rib. So purl, hands are not cooperating tonight, as you can see, but you get the gist of it. Purl all the way across. And then the next row, you do a knit 1, purl 1. So on the front side, you always do the knit 1, purl 1 rib. On the back side of the mock rib, you purl every stitch. Then when you get to row 3, because this would be the 2 setup rows, these 2 don't count, and on the pattern that I did as part of the actual ribbing. I just consider this the setup. Okay, and then at this point, row 1, you knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 all the way across. I'm going to pretend like I've already done the first 2 rows. So now we're going to set it up for the buttonhole. And you need either the little safety pins like this. The Red Heart has safety pins, or you can use regular safety pin. It doesn't matter, but you need to count and mark them. You skip the first 3 and slip your marker on. And then depending on the pattern, it's either 10 or 12. I'm just going to, let's see, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And you go at the mark of 10, but I'm just going to do 8 since this is kind of little. And then when you get to the top, you should have 3 left. I've only got 6, but we'll pretend that's 10 also. So you've got 3 here, 10, marker, and 3. So now we're going to do the buttonholes. These will fit 1.5 to 3/4 inch buttons. You knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, take the marker off, yarn over, which means you just bring it in front, knit 2 together, and that makes your buttonhole. Then you purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. You always want to end with a knit just before your buttonhole so that everything lines up. Take your marker off, yarn around or yarn in front, yarn over, knit 2 together, then you purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. Of course, you do this the appropriate amount of stitches. Ending with a knit, slide the marker off, yarn over, yarn in front, whichever way you want to say it, knit 2 together, purl 1. Then when you get to the back side, you purl all your stitches. And that gives you your buttonhole, and it keeps your rib or mock rib in line as it's supposed to be. When you get to the end of this and it's time to bind off, you want to bind it off in rib. If you don't bind it off in rib, you get a unusual line of stitches which has a tendency to either come laid to the front, or if you're lucky, lay to the back. I'm never lucky. Mine never lays to the back. It always lays to the front, and it doesn't give a nice finished look. So you'd bind off in rib. See, there's your 3 buttonholes. So you knit 1, purl 1, pass the stitch over, knit 1, pass the slip over, purl 1, pass over, knit 1. Now there is still a few more rows in between before you do the bind off. You just have to follow the pattern. Like I said, this is just a reference to show all the different little tips and techniques that I use in order to get this particular pattern to look nice and lay flat and turn out the way I would like it to look. I'm hoping this will give you some insight in how you could do it. Now see how it has that nice flat, it lays really flat there along the side and gives you a lot of stretch, and it just gives a nice finish on the top edge. If you did knit all the way across for your bind off, I'll go ahead and do the rest as all knit. Hopefully the lighting will allow you to see what it looks like when it's all done with knit. Almost to the end. That's close enough. Yeah, you can see it now. See how you get this ridge that comes to the front? It just doesn't have the same finished look as this part where it actually sits on top. And this, you have a lot of stretch. This is not quite as stretchy. But thank you for watching.